Welcome to Strip Cover Look, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Aaron Fort, and we are here for another poetry discussion. Another poetry discussion from Charles Bukowski. It is, in fact, the next poem in What Matters Most is How Well You Walk Through the Fire. This poem is titled My Father's Big Time Fling. Title's a little bit of a knock in itself. Maybe we'll get to that. I'm not sure. Hey, we're going to give it a read through first, and then we're going to get some talking points out of this thing. I came home from grammar school one day, and my mother was sitting, crying. There was another woman there with a large nose, and my father was there. My mother said, "Come here." I walked over, and she said, "Do you love me?" I wasn't quite sure, but I told her yes. Then my father said to me, "Get the hell out of here." And my mother said, "No, Henry, stay." "I'll kill you," I told my father. "Oh, Christ," said the other woman with the big nose. "I'm getting out of here." "Who do you love?" my mother asked my father. My father began crying. "I love you both," he said. "I'll kill you," I told him again. The woman with the big nose grabbed her purse and ran from the house. "Edna, wait," my father screamed my father. He ran out of the house after her. I ran out too. Edna got into my father's car and began to drive it down the street. She had the keys. My father ran to the car. He managed to reach in and grab Edna's purse, but Edna drove off anyhow. Back in the house, my mother said to me, "He says he loves her. Did you see her nose, Henry?" "Yes, I saw it." "Christ," said my father, "get that kid out of here." "I'll kill you," I told him. He rushed towards me. I didn't see the blow. My ear and my face burned. I was on the floor. And inside my head a flash of red and a ringing sound. It cleared. I got up and rushed him, swinging. I couldn't kill him. A month later, somebody broke his arm in a fight, and it made me very happy. The very first thing that you want to say when reading this poem is, wow, what a prick his dad was, and what a contentious situation, right? Rushing into this situation, coming home and finding this, you wouldn't know what to do. But I think we're all on young Henry's side when he says, "I'll kill you," right? Your father's been cheating on your mother. Of course, you're going to be emotional. Of course, you're going to take your mother's side. She's the one that was cheated on, right? So he's the father. Is a bad guy. He's a prick. What a jerk. But mom's pretty terrible herself. Look, the father figure does not want Henry there, and maybe it's for selfish reasons. Maybe it's for his own personal safety. After all, Henry's first go-to emotion is, "Hey, I'm going to kill you." That leads us to believe this isn't the first time some type of commotion such as this has happened. So maybe he knows that if Henry's there, there will be fisticuffs to come. Maybe he is looking out for, maybe he's looking out for his own best interest in the way of not wanting to embarrass himself. He's already in an embarrassing situation. He's in a situation where he is being thrust into this position where he has to choose between two women that he obviously never thought were going to be in this situation. And that's an embarrassing thing. You want to be embarrassed in front of as few people as possible, right? That's always the way it goes. So maybe it's for embarrassment's sake, but let's just say maybe he's not this most selfish all the time, worst person in the world all the time. Obviously, he's done something bad here. No one's forgiven the fact that he's cheated on mom with the lady with the big nose, right? But dad doesn't want him there. And maybe there's a little bit of dad that says, even though I'm his father, and this is a raw and honest moment, maybe this isn't the best place for a kid, for a young man, for an adolescent. Maybe he shouldn't have to see this, go through this. Mom, on the other hand, says, come here. The minute he walks through the door, come here. Do you love me? She asks Henry, do you love me? Now, outside of the utterly Freudian little tiff going on here where mom is trying to make dad choose her over the mistress, as well as her son telling her he loves her, trying to get both of these things going at the same time, presumably different kinds of love, but love nonetheless, trying to get confessions out of both of these men in the most Oedipal way possible at this moment. She wants Henry there. She wants Henry there in order, these, not for good, there's no good reason. There's no good reason to have young Henry there. Absolutely none. Except for the fact that she is being selfish and vindictive. That's it. That's the only reason to have your child in a situation like that. That's the only reason to want your child in a situation like that. That's the only reason to give your child a speaking role in a situation like that. It's the only reason. Plus, Mama just happens to get the added benefit that she knows young Henry, she has to know young Henry is a hothead. As we've stated before, the first time you get mad at your parent, you're probably not going to threaten to kill them with physical violence. That's probably not a first-time offense. So she knows. This is Hank's go-to. That's where he'll go. Even if I lose, I win. One of these situations. And the question, do you love me? What a rotten question to come from a mother. If your mother ever asks you, do you love me? Something wicked this way comes. Just know that. If a woman ever asks you, do you love me? Something wicked this way comes. Just know that. Just know that. Nothing good is on the other side of that question. Ever. But the other thing that I want to talk about, so mom's rotten too. That's where we're going here. The other thing I want to talk about is verisimilitude. Let me just read the beginning again. The beginning again. I came home from grammar school one day and my mother was sitting crying. There was another woman there with a large nose, and my father was there. My mother said, come here. I walked over and she said, do you love me? I wasn't quite sure, so I told her yes. Then my father said to me, get the hell out of here. And my mother said, no, Henry, stay. I'll kill you, I told my father. At this point, Henry has no idea what's going on. Henry, the speaker here, has no idea what's happened, what's happening, what's going to happen, where we are, where we're going, where we've been. None of these things are obvious to Henry at the point where this poem starts, all the way up to when he says, I'll kill you. Here's what he knows. He's walked into his living room. His mother's crying. His father's yelling at him. And there's a stranger present. Now, more than likely, we can piece these pieces of the puzzle together. We can place these pieces of the puzzle together. That doesn't matter. What he's done here is he has walked into a contentious situation. And when you walk into a contentious situation, your inner monologue is always the default emotion. Walking into a contentious situation, or the moment a fight sort of breaks out, not necessarily physical fight, but some type of argument, fight, rabble-rousing breaks out, Those initial moments tell you a lot about yourself. Mom's crying, Dad's angry, Henry gets angry. Henry's an angry young man. So I used to have a roommate, and he was racist. Now, he was a black guy. You can see me, I'm a white guy. The very moment we ever got into an argument, the first thing out of his mouth was white boy or your white ass. I didn't even get to lubricate the conversation. We didn't even get to get worked up, and you're already going with the racial stuff. You, my friend, are racist. Your immediate go-to in an emotional event says a lot about you. Confession time, get angry. I walk into a situation, people are crying, I think, oh shit. I'm going to have to say something or do something, or I'm going to have to be the nice guy. I'm not the nice guy. Don't do this to me. I get angry. I'm going to have to pick a side because somebody else started an argument. Damn it. I get angry. Here we have Henry immediately getting angry. But like my old roommate, his go-to was, we'll go for the race thing. He was racist, son of a bitch. Henry's go-to here, not just anger. Anger's the emotion, but his go-to, like my friend calling me a cracker or a white boy or your white ass, his go-to is defending mama. That tells us a lot. That's one of the subliminal sort of pokes here. Mom's rotten. Dad's rotten too, don't get me wrong. But Mom's rotten. Surely we can agree on that. However, Henry's go-to with no context is anger and take Mom's side. A lot like Dad, probably. Dad here is angry, and he doesn't necessarily take Mom's side, but he still wants Mom. This is the type of thing that it would be easy to look at a writer like Bukowski, who's not very fancy, doesn't use a lot of bells and whistles. But what he does is he writes with verisimilitude. Everything that happens in a Bukowski poem, whether it's made up or not, we have no idea if this actually happened. Everything that happens in a Bukowski poem is as real as it gets, whether it is imaginary or not. There is emotional underpinning to all of his characters. And it would be very easy to look at a writer like Bukowski and write it off as everything is true. It must have been a real situation. You know, that guy's not a genius. He wasn't brilliant. Sort of a weird fella who smoked cigars and drank beer a lot. What could he possibly have to tell us about psychology? He wrote absolutely stunningly real characters. So it is always, I think that it is a danger of Bukowski to sort of write him off as someone who only writes true stories in his poetry. But that's it. That's all I've got for this poetry discussion. I've got new videos on the channel Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays are for poetry, and we sprinkle it in other times as well. But again, I hope to see you for the next video. There's also there is a link to my personal channel to be found in the description below. On my personal channel, I talk about movies and just other stuff. really. There's no use to go. You don't have to go. Don't. I mean, if you want to. If you want to go over there, you can go over there. You don't have to.